Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel for a Game Week 12 preview. Today I'm joined by FPL expert, the big man, Bakar, on the back of a green arrow from Game Week 11. One of the craziest game weeks I can remember in my time playing. Bakar, you've played the game for longer than me. Talk to me. Have you ever seen a game week like this with so few points accrued?
Hello, Jack. Hello, and welcome to all the listeners and viewers. It was just a strange week.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of got bailed out by the Cole Palmer show on Monday night. Even that, I mean, 35 points for me this week. It was all right. I'll take that with both hands. But this was a week where even if you've had a bad week, I mean, it's the old cliche. It's the saying that, you know, it was a good week to have a bad week because the variance in points wasn't that big. What you really want to avoid is a situation where you end up getting, let's say, 40 points while all the others are smashing it on 80 or 90. And
Yeah,
this is exactly the opposite of that. I mean, this was a low-scoring week for almost all FPL managers. So it's completely fine. You just take it as a one-off freak occurrence and you move on to the rest and you keep on making good decisions and hopefully they will pay off over the long run.
but as for you, a little green arrow. I mean, we just talked about this off camera, and I thought you'd be on a bigger green arrow given your score. But perhaps that shows that, yeah, you can't really gain too much in a week like this where the points are quite similar, despite the fact that some people have really, really bad weeks. You're only really going to be losing, 10, 15 points maximum. I got 22 points. Bakar got 35. That was a difference between a decent green and a pretty healthy red. But ultimately, 13 points, it's not the end of the world. Talk us through your team, though. Obviously, Palmer the hero, but the rest of it, what do you think?
It was all right. I mean, Palmer outdid my expectations. I was happy to have him away to Spurs. I don't expect a 4-1 win. I guess I got lucky with the red cards and just the way it was. I mean, on any other day, that penalty could have been missed. On another day, Jackson could have passed on Modric and it wouldn't have been a 12-pointer. So you just got to ride the positive variance when it goes your way. Overall, I'm very happy with my team as I'm sitting here. And I don't think at any point this season I am so torn on my transfers as I am this week because I don't really know what to do. And we'll obviously discuss this further in the video. And I would actually like all the listeners and viewers who are watching this to advise me with what they would do if they were in my position, so that maybe I can pick on their brains.
Well, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Initial thoughts. What are you thinking? Tell the viewers. You got 1.1 million in the bank. You have 2 free transfers, I believe, do you?
Yeah. I have 2 free transfers and I have 1.1 million in the bank. When I was wildcarding in Game Week 10, I made this conscious decision to have Mitoma over Bowen, just so that I can have that extra bit of budget, which may be required in making future transfers. And at that point, I had sort of penciled in an earmark to move for Mbomo in Game Week 14, which is still the plan because as of now, the only thing I'm certain about is the fact that I will be doing Mitoma to Mbomo in Game Week 14, irrespective of whatever else happens in my team. And this is a transfer I might even make in Game Week 13. Okay. I'm not sure whether I will, but it's something I will do if not in Game Week 13, then definitely in Game Week 14 before Mbomo plays Luton. I say that because Brentford's fixtures are turning soon. They're playing Luton and then Sheffield again in Game Week 16. Even Brighton is a fine fixture for them in Game Week 15. All these teams I expect Brentford to score against. And Mbomo is comfortably the best budget midfielder in my opinion. He's top for non-pen XG, and even his non-pen XGI is very, very close to the likes of Son, Saka, Salah. So he's doing really well and he's keeping up with the premiums in terms of his underlying statistics. And then Brentford have a double in Game Week 20 as well. So I'll probably just bench Mbomo in Game Week 18 and set myself up for the double as well. So this is a good long-term transfer for me. So yeah, so basically Mitoma and Mbomo is going to happen. I probably will need 0.4 leeway for that, which leaves me with 0.7. So whatever I do this week, I am planning to do with a leeway of 0.7 million in the bank so that I can easily do the Mbomo move later.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. You know, we can do that now. We can skip ahead to Game Week 14 on Fantasy Football Hub and put Mbomo in. As you say, you're probably going to need a 0.4 buffer by the time you get there. You're expecting Mbomo to go up in price again. But for now, that leaves you with 0.8 in the bank for this week. Obviously, we're doing the transfers in back to front here, but that is the way you're thinking. So this week then, I mean, do you even know where to start? Maybe I'll help by just going through certain players that I've got my eye on here. For example, Tsimikas, just off the bat here, a player that everyone thought was locked on, nailed, looked really good until Robertson was going to come back from injury. So, I mean, who knows how long that would be. We knew it was going to be a number of weeks, probably the rest of this year. this calendar year anyway, but dropped, rested for Joe Gomez, who comes in at left back. What do you think there?
Not ideal. The timing was very unfortunate. I didn't expect it to happen. The thinking going around is that it's happening, but it happened because of the fact that Klopp wanted more physicality in the team. He wanted a better defender for set pieces. Now, while that still might be true for the game they have this week against Brentford, you would assume that Tsimikas might be needed for creativity. I think Tsimikas will start, and obviously we'll know more after the Thursday night fixture for Liverpool. Let's say if Tsimikas doesn't start or starts and gets hooked early, I think that'll be good news for the weekend. And Liverpool have a good record at home this season. They've kept 3 clean sheets in 5 games. They're actually first for non-pen XG conceded at home this season. So if Tsimikas starts, he's a good option this week. But it's just the annoying part is we don't really know whether he'll start, and if he doesn't start, he almost inevitably comes up with a 1-pointer, which is extremely annoying. Having said that, 10 or 12 days ago, we were sat here with Klopp praising Tsimikas for his performance against Everton, and he basically implied that, Tsimikas is not going to play every game because he's first choice and he's too important. But we'll have, Gomez as the backup, and he can fill in whenever required as well. So has that really changed? Has that pecking order really changed in just 10 days' time? I'm not entirely sure. I would still assume that Tsimikas is first choice. And while there is this risk that he can be benched and he can come up on for a 1-pointer, you've also got to accept that he's only 4.6 million. The fixtures that Liverpool have from game week 14, 15, 16 are fixtures you'd actually want him for. Fulham at home, Sheffield United away, Crystal Palace away. Now those 3 fixtures are happening in the space of a week. I'm sure Tsimikas is not going to play every one of them, but I would assume he plays 2 at least. And if he does, then there are points to be had over there. And if he's just a 4.6, 4.7 million option, I think he's fine to keep. I don't think he's a hard sell this week.
Sure thing. Now for your team, there is actually a big selection headache here in defence, because you have 4 defenders. If you're happy to play Tsimikas, then a lot of us would love to play. Cash now back in training today at the time of recording. So with a plum home fixture to Fulham, is he going to be starting for you? Gabriel and Gay as well in there with great home fixtures, and then of course Tsimikas, who we've just mentioned. So as it stands right now, before we even get on to potential transfers, who's going to be starting for you in defence?
It's tricky. It's tricky because again, Tsimikas' minutes are still up in the air, and we'll get to know more on Thursday. I think he's a slightly better option than Gehi if he's starting. Of course, if I don't think he starts, he's going to be on the bench. I might even choose to bench PALMER. I am not sure I want to play him against City. At this point, I'm looking to bench him because City are one of the best defenses in the league, and I don't really see the upside. I guess I could be wrong because I'm benching a penalty taker, but I'll play him if I'm forced to. Let's say if I don't think that Tsimikas is going to start, then I'll play PALMER. But if I think that Tsimikas is starting, I'll probably bench him.
So as it stands, it's more of a deliberation between PALMER and Tsimikas than Cash. You happy to play Cash this week?
If I own him, yes.
Oh, hang on. You do not own him?
If I own him by the time the game week starts.
I see. Sorry, I was very confused there. I see. I understand. So it's okay. So you're saying that you could sell him. I thought something had gone wrong here and that you didn't own Cash. I understand. Okay, let's talk now about defenders as a whole, because obviously there are a lot of injuries in defence this week. The Tottenham lads, we have Cash as well, who's obviously picked up a knock of some sort. Dan Burn as well, frustratingly for me, even though I backed the clean sheet for Newcastle, and he came off at half time, as I'm sure he did for a lot of you guys out there as well. Where are we going with players like that? Botman, Udogie, Dan Burn, Van de Ven, what are we doing, and who are the best replacements?
Okay, so there are 3 defenses that stand out right now. There's the Arsenal defense, which are just behind Man City for non-pen XG conceded this season. There's the Newcastle defense who've conceded the fewest big chances this season, and there's the Crystal Palace defense who've kept the highest clean sheets, and their underlying data is reasonable as well, especially at home. And all these 3 teams have decent fixtures coming up. Newcastle's exactly aren't as good in the short term, but long term, they're all right. As of now, if I was replacing Burn, Udogie or Botman, I would look to get to Saliba. I think he's the best Arsenal defender to own in the weeks to come because of Arsenal's fixtures. When you look at their upcoming fixtures, they're playing Burnley at home this week, then Brentford away, then Wolves at home, then Luton away in the next 4. I'd probably expect 3 clean sheets out of 4 in that stretch, definitely a minimum of 2. So that immediately makes him more appealing. And not only this, his fixtures over the long term till game week 23, game week 24 are really, really good. So I don't really mind the idea of even doubling up on Arsenal defense, let's say if you have Gabriel. My second choice would be Gabriel, of course. I still think he will start most games. I'm not as confident in his minutes as I was earlier, but I think he will still start most games. And at that price, he's still the best option to go for. And let's say if you don't have the budget to afford these options, then I would just go to someone cheaper like a Livermento or Lascelles, depending on the injury news that we hear from Eddie Howe. We don't have any concrete news on Botman's injury yet.
Yeah.
There are rumors that he could require surgery. And if he does require surgery, then Lascelles becomes very, very appealing for the next 3 or 4 months. At 4 million, a starting Newcastle defender is insane value. And even Livermento is fine. I mean, Livermento is a good pick as well. He has more upside than Lascelles. And we know that Burn is out for sure for the next 2 months. With Botman, we're sort of still speculating to a certain degree.
Yeah, that's very fair. Do you think there's any risk with Livermento? Obviously, there is more upside there, but just with competition for that place,
there is a slight risk. I mean, Lewis Hall could play. I would assume that Livermento will play most games though. Okay. And I think he'll play. I think he'll play as the left back because, I mean, how after the Champions League yesterday did mention that he sort of prefers having Trippier on the right because he's right-footed. So I think that he'll stick Trippier to his best position, and he'll sort of pick Livermento as the left back in most weeks.
Sure thing. So let's move on now to a midfielder that is in a lot of teams, or at least was in a lot of teams at the end of last game week. James Maddison picking up you tell the viewers, what do you think's going on there? How bad do you think the injury is? Is he definitely a sell?
I don't think he's definitely a sell, but because of the short turnaround, I mean, Spurs played on Monday night and they're playing in the lunchtime kickoff on Saturday. It's a very short turnaround. So there is this risk that Maddison could end up missing this fixture. And if you come out of this fixture, if he doesn't play, then Spurs have Aston Villa and City in the next 2. So the fixtures aren't ideal. So basically, if Maddison is missing this fixture, he's definitely a sell. We will obviously hear more closer to the deadline, closer to the press conference. But I think that if you can afford to go to Saka, I would still go Saka. I know his underlying data in recent times has not been as good. But over the course of the season, over a large sample size, I still think he has the potential to do well, especially with the fixtures that Arsenal have coming up.
Yeah, it is a really good run. A couple of lovely home fixtures as well, which I love for Arsenal. If you look at Burnley, Wolves, and then Brighton, there must be goals in those games, and obviously they do so well at home.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about captaincy this week, my friend, because according to Fantasy Football Hub's AI, Haaland, as he often is the best captain. Well, he's predicted to score the most points. Now, do you agree with that? And if not, where are you looking to go?
I'm not looking at Haaland currently. I'm 80-20 between Salah and Saka, and I'm almost certainly going to go with Salah.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that I just rate him as a better asset than Saka. He's been more consistent. His underlying data is better. When you look at the home data in particular, Salah is actually best for non-pen XGI. So he's clearly a significant
above Haaland
asset.
Is that? Or just in general?
Wow. Salah is better than Haaland in terms of XGI this season. So I would prefer going there, especially considering and looking at the fact that Arsenal and attack aren't looking as convincing. I mean, I would expect Saka to return for sure, but Arsenal are 11th for non-pen XG this season, and that is sort of worrying me,
isn't it?
And
it's poor.
Yeah, and early on when I was advocating double Arsenal defense, I mean, Arsenal are second for non-pen XG conceded. So their defensive statistics are really impressive, but their attacking numbers are way below you'd expect them to be.
It does feel to me as if they've decided to go a little bit more solid this season, shore up the defense more, but then obviously with that you are sacrificing something going forward. Just a note on Odegaard, because obviously he is so instrumental to that attack, and although he's not going to be in many managers' teams, the influence that he has on the rest of the team and on players like Saka is obviously huge. Do we know anything about him? Do we think he's going to be back for this fixture?
I'm not sure, because apparently he's not in the Champions League squad tonight. So I'm not really sure whether he's going to play against Burnley on Saturday.
That's big.
There are only 2 days in between.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they've sort of sorted that dynamic with Havertz in the team, with Xhaka gone. I just don't think it's clicking at the moment.
I agree. Okay, then let's get on to it. Your transfers this week. Obviously, you got to make one unless you want to burn. What are you thinking right now? Obviously, we're a few days out from deadline and we don't have all the information, and there are still fixtures to be played, of course, in Europe. But right now, I'm looking at your team. I have no idea what I would do, to be honest. But yeah, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I almost certainly won't be burning the transfer. I just can't stand it. I'll definitely be making one.
There's a
one
move
transfer
there. There's at least a move there that you could make. Of course.
There is a move. There is a move. I mean, it's probably not as pressing, and I think I'm fortunate to be in this position where I don't really have to make a move. But there are certain edges that I can maybe sharpen to just improve the team that slight little bit more than I want. At the moment, there are a few options on my head. I could do Cash to Saliba.
Okay.
I could do Taylor to Lascelles or Livramento.
Mm-hmm.
I could do Turner to Raya or Flecken. Realistically, these are the moves I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Other than this, I mean, I don't think I'll sell Tsimikas. I don't think I'll sell Kehi or Gabriel either. So, I mean, my midfield is fine. Mitoma's going nowhere before Sheffield United at home. So these are realistically, Palmer is obviously great to keep for the long run. So yeah, these 3 or 4 options I'm torn between, Cash to Saliba, Taylor to Lascelles, Taylor to Livramento, Turner to Flecken, Turner to Raya. Now I'll talk you through each of the moves. I'll get to Cash to Saliba first. Now this is assuming that Cash is fit, right? Which
yes.
we assume
because if not, that's a pretty simple move.
Yes, I was sort of hoping that he'd be ruled out.
Of course, preying on the plight of footballers, professional footballers. That's what the card does. I'm joshing,
a
of
slight
course.
niggle.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'll talk you through the pros and cons of all these 5 transfer plans that I have in my head. So firstly, now Cash is a great fixture at home to Fulham this week. Now this is the biggest dilemma. Had it not been this Fulham fixture, or had it even been away, I think I would have made this move, but now I'm sort of doubting myself and I'm 50-50 because Cash, his stats in recent weeks have been really good. I mean, I know he hasn't delivered, but every single match he's averaging a big chance involvement. He's creating a big chance or he's getting at the end of it. That's not turning into points, but even if I sell Cash against Fulham, I know that I run the risk of Cash getting a 12 or a 15 pointer any day of the week. That could happen, but the logic behind that move is I've already mentioned Arsenal's fixtures and their underlying statistics and the fact that I could double up on that defense, and B, because I don't really want Cash in my team from game week 13 onwards, if I'm being totally honest, because the fixtures are very tough. If you look at next week, Spurs away, I'm not expecting a clean sheet from Villa. Bournemouth away is fine in game week 14, but then City at home in 15, Arsenal away, Arsenal home in 16, then Brentford away in 17. I do not want Cash for this run at all.
It's important, I think. Sorry that you mentioned that Brentford away fixture. There's no way that they're keeping a clean sheet in that game. That's a tough fixture, I would say. In my opinion, that's just as tough as Arsenal at home for clean sheet potential. So yeah, if you're looking at the next 5, only one really is playable after Fulham, in my opinion.
Exactly, you're absolutely right. So after Fulham, one of the next 5 look good. Anyway, the risk with that is the fact that just Cash just blows up this week and it just ends up going pear-shaped for me, which could happen. Yeah. The other move is I could sell Taylor for, let's say, a Lascelles. If we hear from Eddie Howe that, Botman is out for a while, if he's going to undergo surgery or anything of that sort, if we hear a story from a journalist or something, or even Livramento, because I can afford to, go there. I know that Livramento isn't as nailed as Lascelles, but the fact that he would likely be my 5th defender means that I can accept a benching here or there, right? Mm-hmm. That's fine. It's not the end of the world, because let's be fair, if he starts, he starts. If he doesn't start, then I have 4 other defenders who can come on for him. It's not the end of the world. I would be more concerned if he was my 3rd or 4th defender, right? Yeah. And the other move is selling Turner now that he's useless and now that Areola isn't really impressing in West Ham's underlying data isn't great either. I could sell Turner and get Flecken in place for the double, which is going to happen in 20. Or I could get Raya.
Yeah. Do you not think there might obviously that's going to be more expenditure in this position, but the goalkeeper position this season has been awful, but it's not always awful. You can get points from that position. I don't know how many clean sheets I've got. I think it's 1. in the entirety of the season. But there are goalkeepers out there that are doing well, right?
I'm pretty sure I got one because I distinctly remember jumping off my bed when Pickford got
It
a
was a Pickford
9-pointer.
one. It was Pickford 9 points, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the week where everyone wildcarded, and I held on to him. So
Yes.
it was something which
It
will
was
stay
8,
long
yeah.
in memory. But yeah, that's the only one this season, definitely.
Yeah. So are you not tempted by that? Because the other moves that you're mentioning there, I mean, if Cash is fit, then you don't have to make that move, obviously. Taylor to Lascelles or Livramento, the upside really isn't going to be there if you're not going to play them that much. The upside could be there with a Flecken or a Raya.
It could be. I'm
over the course of a long period of time. Remember, it's not just like a couple of game weeks.
It could be, but next 3 Areola, I'm happy to keep.
Exactly, that's the problem. The fixtures are too good next 3 for Areola.
There's this part of me which is telling me that maybe I'm better off leaving the slot, because Sanchez's fixtures are fine after game week 14 as well. He becomes an option as well. When Areola's fixtures are difficult, then Sanchez becomes an option from Chelsea, because Chelsea's fixtures turn at that point as well. So maybe I'm better off leaving the slot and then maybe getting Sanchez later. I am not entirely sure at this point in time. And again, I also have to see how well I will be set up for game week 18 as well, because I think it's about time that we start thinking about game week 18. The only reason why I am sort of edging towards the Saliba move, even though I don't like it this week, is because out of all the transfers that I've mentioned, Cash to Saliba is a transfer I think I will be making next week or after next week anyway.
Okay.
Well, the rest of the 4, I mean, I could live with Areola for another 2 to 3 weeks. I could live with Taylor as my 5th sub for the next 2 or 3 weeks. It won't really matter, right? But with Saliba, I'm sort of getting a transfer ahead of the curve, which could backfire, but I mean, it's not ideal, but that's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously up in the air at the time of recording, and realistically, team news is going to be the biggest kind of deciding factor in what you end up doing. Let's have a look at what the
and another thing is another outside. Sorry to cut you off. Another outside thing that I could potentially do is I could sell Archer for, let's say, an Edouard, but I don't think I will do that, because I mean Edouard does rotate really. I mean, Edouard does rotate really well with Palmer.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't think I'll do it, because A, it would mess up my structure, and B, it would mean that I won't have enough to go to Mbomo from Mitoma, which is a big factor for me, and I don't think I want to take that risk.
Sure thing. Okay. Well, I've got your AI recommended transfers up on screen. The viewers have had a few seconds to have a look at these just while you were talking there and take them in. And they're interesting. They really are. Tsimikas is being recommended to be sold for Fabian Schär. The reason for that is because Tsimikas' expected minutes now are lower. And I think that's reasonable, because, yes, we all expect him to come back into the team. However, would you be shocked if he plays a full game on Thursday night and then Gomez is back in on the weekend? I wouldn't say that is categorically not going to happen. So for that reason, according to the AI, the predicted minutes are lower, and that of course has affected Tsimikas' predicted points. He also has a terrible fixture in Game Week 13, which affects this. But if you can rotate him out for that City game, then that is slightly different. Whereas Schär is just ticking along, a kind of 4 points expected per game. And I'll tell you one more thing before you talk about that. Your alternative option is also to bring in another Newcastle defender for Matty Cash. We'll get to that in a second, because I really want to get your thoughts on that one. But first of all, Tsimikas to Schär. What do you think?
I think I will, if I'm picking a Newcastle defender, I don't think I'll go with Schär. I think I'll go with Livramento or Lascelles, just because of the value that there is to get. Having said that, I think there is this outside chance of Schär taking penalties this week, because Wilson is injured and Isak is injured. Now it could be Trippier or it could be Schär. It is a factor which could come into play. It is a factor which could come into play this week. I think Trippier could take penalties, and if not Trippier, then Schär.
You don't think it would be someone like a Willock or someone that would just, or like Bruno if they're on the pitch, just like, oh, I'll take it?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Imagine if Trippier steps up and as a non-owner, goodness me, That is
I think it could
unbelievable.
happen. Yeah,
Well,
I'm afraid of the possibility. I
fair enough.
think it's a factor which won't affect my decision making because it's not as if Isak is out for a while. I think he'll be back after the international break. So this penalty factor is only going to come into play in Game Week 12. I don't think it will
Okay.
come into play at any other point, but it is something to take into account. But I won't be buying
Yeah.
share this week for sure.
Fair enough. That is completely fine. And obviously, you know, you're looking at the expected, your own perception of the expected points of the likes of Lascelles and Livramento, and you're probably ranking that a little bit higher than Fantasy Football Hub here. And then, Bakar, your alternative set of transfers here, 2 transfers here, pretty crazy, but Cash and Watkins out, Trippier and Darwin Núñez in. How about that? How about that for some fun? Trippier, a player that I think we need to talk about because he's still doing so well each and every game week. Yet, content creators, experts out there are saying, you know, he should be the fall guy. Whereas in reality, he's the one that's still putting up these numbers. You know, another fantastic score against a top team. The game week previously gone.
Yeah, it's just that Son, Saka, Salah, Haaland, Watkins makes it very difficult to get to Trippier. And I don't think I'll be selling or getting, I don't think I'll be getting Núñez this week. I think the time to buy him was 2 weeks ago. I think that's gone because of the fact that Liverpool are playing Man City away next week. And I'm not even sure that he's going to start that fixture because it's an early kickoff. And we've seen time and again that Klopp benches Darwin in the early kickoffs. There's a chance that he gets benched next week. So I don't really want to get into that headache where I'm second guessing whether or not he's going to start.
Yeah, that's completely fair. These are some pretty wacky transfers, but something to think about. And just looking at the predicted points, according to the AI, the predicted points make sense. One thing I do just want to mention, guys, before we end this video is now there's a new feature on Fantasy Football Hub's AI tool, the AI recommended transfers of custom transfers. You can add a filter as you're seeing on screen here. So, for example, say you wanted to make a striker transfer, you could do that. You could say, I only want to be suggested a transfer based on the forwards in my team. And as you can see, it will do that for you. And there you go. A couple of transfers here based on your forwards. There are other filters as well here. You know, number of transfers if you're more ready to take a hit, for example. Say you want to make 3 transfers this week, you can do that and it will suggest 3 transfers for you. There's also based on team, effective ownership, and player price. Just some additional things that you might want to have a look at over on the website. Link as always to that is down below. But Bakar, for now, that is going to be your team, of course. Transfers up in the air. If people want to see what you do end up going with, then the link to your final team reveal article, as always, is on Fantasy Football Hub, the website. Once again, link down below. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week, waiting for team news and European fixtures. But there we go, Bakar. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Good luck to all the listeners and viewers.
Yeah, good luck. It's going to be a big game week. One quick message from me as well, guys. There's not going to be any game week previews next week for game week 13 as I'm away. But we'll be back after the international break. So no videos next week, but there'll be 2 more coming this week. And yeah, you'll see Bakar back on the channel in 2 or 3 weeks.